Okay, we are live now. Aloha from Hawaii. This is Gabe Morales. And if you like our channel, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. It's very important. And so we have a lot of good content coming up for you in coming weeks. Today, we definitely have a banger. Today, we have a guest who's well known in the hip hop world. He is a Seattle icon. I was introduced to him by my brother Joe, rest in peace. And I would listen to him on his radio show, K-Fox in Seattle. At that time, we had a radio show called KYC, and they played, a lot of R&B, and hip hop was just coming on the scene. And when KYC shut down, a lot of people that I grew up with were, disappointed that we're going to lose our radio station. So when K-Fox came on the air and this DJ came on the air, we were happy because we had our tunes to listen to, our jams. So I really was impressed with him. He had the first hip hop radio show in the Northwest called Fresh Tracks. He also started Nasty Mix Records with Sir Mix-a-Lot. And I know we know a lot of the same people, brother. How are you today?
Oh man, you're in Hawaii? Are you seriously in Hawaii?
It's rough, bro. It's rough.
They don't look
here.
like.
Even though I got a Seattle picture.
That's what I was gonna say, man. They don't look like Hawaii in the background. I don't see Honolulu. That's funny. My dad. He's Filipino. He grew up in Hawaii. So I have a lot of family on my father's side. I have lots of family on my father's side in Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. All right.
So I'm good. Right. Gabe. It's a pleasure to do this show with you, especially your little brother and I go way back. I mean, we go back to the days when we were just hitting the streets and we were bad boys.
Yeah. Yeah, I already know, man. I know. So tell us where Mr. Rodriguez, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Okay, well, I was actually born in Okinawa, Japan, and my mom, she got a job in the military base as a nurse. So she wanted to take advantage of that. So she moved us from the Philippines to Okinawa, and she got pregnant on Okinawa. And so I was born in Okinawa, Japan. I lived there for about 10 years, and we all moved to the States when I was 10 years old in 1970. And, yeah.
All right. Well, I spent 1 year on Okinawa in the Marine Corps. That's interesting. Yeah.
So, really? Was that you? That was you with the machine gun pointing at me, huh? I remember you.
So I understand then also that you spent some of your summers in New York City. Is that correct?
Yeah, and well, because when we moved, coming from a Filipino family, my sister got a scholarship to New York University. So my mom wanted my sister and I to still keep the relationship strong and tight. So she not forced me, but she said I should spend the summers in New York, since I was living in Seattle, so I can hang with my sister. And if it wasn't for me going to New York, I probably wouldn't be in the business I'm in now. And it played a big role in my career in the hip hop music business.
Right. Is that where you're exposed to hip hop then? Did you hear some artists there in New York?
Yeah, mostly not just hip hop, but to the elements of DJing. When I learned about DJing, and I was like, "Wow, man! I don't know how they do that. I want to learn how to do that." And
right.
So
well,
I just
when after DJ Kool Herc and all them started
man,
records and scratching
DJ,
and all that. Yeah.
No, this is DJ Kool Herc was probably like 8 years old when that happened. I mean, no, this is the early days, like 79, 1980, with John Jellybean Benitez, the Latin Rascals, people like them who are the pioneers of mixing and all that. But a lot of people don't know that.
Right. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your memories of Seattle and the club scene. I remember in the late 70s, disco was still pretty big, and then hip hop slowly took over and disco faded out. But what are some of your memories of some of the streets of Seattle, some of the clubs back then?
Oh man, that's an easy question to answer because probably around 1976, 1977, Saturday Night Fever was in the movie theaters, and my life was very similar to John Travolta and his friends in Saturday Night Fever, except it
Right.
was me, Lindley, Lowe, your brother Joe, Law Austin, Al Blood. We all kicked it, on the streets.
Right.
And we used to go to this club in downtown called Face. I think it was called Faces. And
Right. Yeah.
it had the lighted disco dance floor, the disco ball, So I remember going there a lot. And another club that I used to hang out a lot at, and where I kind of watched the DJ and learned by watching, was on Mercer Island, called Tonight's the Night. The DJ was John Bush. I remember going there a lot. Another one was called Reflections on Rainier by The Loop.
Right. By
Um,
Red and Loop. Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah. So those are the ones that stood out in the very, very early days. And then throughout the later in the 80s, there was Scoochie's and Club Broadway. Sundays. I don't know if you remember Sundays up on Queen Anne,
Yeah.
club called Sundays. Oh man, the one club I remember the most, and if you're under 18, you might want to close your ears. It was called the Monastery. Remember the Monastery?
Yeah, I do, man. It was an old church. I remember my brother Joe and you guys used to run there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I said, okay, hey man, I said let's go to church, man. But it was a different kind of church.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I heard some stories about that place. Pretty wild.
Oh, it's all true, man. And I was like, I was trying to hit on this girl,
Right.
and then her girlfriend got mad because I was hitting on her girlfriend. I was like, whoa, because back in those days, I was, we weren't really used to seeing that. But I got along with everybody, so I had a bunch of gay friends and stuff. But it was a really cool place, and there was a lot of underage, because I was like maybe 15 or 16 going to this place. But it was so much fun. The music, the sound system was awesome, but just going to something like that was something I'll never forget.
Right on. Right on. So I remember back then also, like, in fact, back at the Reflections, I remember there was a couple Filipino gangs called Tulisans and Onggoys that walked in, and people, like, it was like the parting of the Red Seas. People got out, and these are little Filipino guys, Pinoys, 5 foot tall, in their platforms, and
uh,
but they definitely people knew that these guys were not to be messed with. Can you tell us
oh
a little
yeah.
bit about back then some of the gangs that were running around Seattle?
Well, I was so young, but I remember both the Tuli Sons and the Ungoys, but I was mostly friends with the Ungoys because one of my close friends was part of the Ungoys, and that's how I got to know the leader, Ferdy Urbino, because he was also a karate instructor and very popular in Seattle for teaching karate and winning in tournaments. But I just remember that those two gangs didn't get along, but who really didn't get along was the Wami, the Wong gang, Norman Wong, all those guys.
Right.
We just called them the Chinese gang,
The
and they
Chinese
would
gang, yeah.
they would roll up in this big white Cadillac, 4-door white Cadillac, tinted windows, even in the front windshield, and you couldn't even see in. And then every time I saw that car, I would run away. I go, oh, comes the Wong. So I was like,
Right.
oh shoot. But I remember there was a big fight in Reflections. I think it was a Chinese gang and the Filipinos battling it out. And I also remember the Samoans, Eric Ta and his guys. We ended up becoming good friends, but I remember there was a little bit of rivalry with the Samoan gangs too.
Right. Yeah. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of people may not be aware, but Seattle has a very large Pacific Islander and Asian community. And of course, that has all changed now. I know last time I went, they used to call it Chinatown, when I was growing up, but
Hmm.
also referred as the, International District. But uh, the Japanese, market moved Uchimayas, and now
Yeah.
we have Little Saigon up there, where it used to be mostly blacks there along Jackson, up all the way up into like almost 14th right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, the community has definitely changed as different immigrants come in, and I remember they used to call some of the new immigrants fobs, fresh off the boats, and then there was the American, born ones. So they also didn't get along sometimes. So it was yeah, it was an interesting time. Seattle's very multicultural, as you know, all different races, all different cultures, and I really liked it. I understand there's some gentrification going on now, but things have changed, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I am a fob. I was fresh off the boat, although we took an airplane to get here, but all our belongings was on a boat. But yeah, I'm fresh off the boat. But I
right.
just remember not just growing up with around gangs, but I don't know if you ever met him. Do you remember a guy named Pretty Tony?
Oh yeah,
Pretty, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He
And
was
he
talking
was
with my
like,
brother.
yeah, yeah, and there were a lot of popcorn. We call them popcorn pimps because they couldn't afford to drive their own car, but they just walked around the streets of downtown with these hoes, But Pretty Tony was a legitimate pimp, and he also was one of my close friends, and I believe he passed away already. But yeah, so seeing my going and seeing stuff at a young age, not just the gang stuff, but the pimps, because a lot of the prostitutes are my friends. I mean, they're truly my
Yeah,
friends.
yeah.
You know,
No,
I
I
talk,
totally remember. Do you remember Craig Ayers, Seattle Slim?
oh, of course, I still
Yeah,
talk to him.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm
yeah.
still in contact with Craig, man.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
So yeah, we
I got a story about Craig, and I always get
okay.
on.
We'll have to say that for another time, brother. All
Really?
right.
Oh no, this is an awesome story though, man. It had to do with he came up to Roosevelt High School with Lyle to visit me at Roosevelt, right? And I said, oh man, I don't want people knowing that I hang out with hoodlums. So they came
Right.
in, and Craig Ayers had a pair of new chocolate sticks, and just out of the blue, he hit this guy, and the guy got knocked out and fell on the ground. I go, Craig, you just didn't do what I just saw you do. And I'll never forget that. And he was just laughing, man. I was like, oh, please, man. I hope no one knows they're my friends.
Yeah, yeah. Craig should write a book. He's been through a lot, as you
Oh,
probably know.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I told him many times he should write a book about his life story. So, what about lowriders? I remember back then too. There was like mixed company and lowriders were coming up in California, and there was a big influence on that. Before that, people would cruise Alki and Golden Gardens. And they'd be in their muscle cars, and then the lowriders came up, and, holding up traffic, and
Yeah.
the fast, fast and furious speed guys would get mad, but yeah, that was kind of an interesting. Do you remember any of those situations where the lowriders were cruising?
Oh, man. I was one of the first true lowriders. I even had hydraulics, but the way I would lower my car back in the days, we'd go to Ernest Hardware store and buy a bunch of cement bags. And
Right.
I would just dump a bunch of cement bags
Yeah.
in my trunk, and then we
Right.
would go to this guy named I think his name is Wilson. He had a mechanic store up on somewhere up by the juvenile center in Seattle, and he would cut my coils in half, cut the coils, put a bunch of cement bags in the trunk, and I would low ride. And then
Right.
finally, I think Marcelo's name is Marcelo, and them had a connection to get hydraulics. So I put hydraulics lifts on the front of my car, and yeah, we should try. We should cruise. My favorite place to cruise was Seward Park, going up that hill. They don't. I think they closed it down for cruising now. There, Alki was my favorite, and Renton had the Loop,
Right.
and Lake City Way, and Broadway. With Posse on Broadway,
Yep.
We used to
Posse on
cruise on
Broadway.
Broadway.
Yep. Yep. I was going
Yeah,
to bring
yeah.
that up next. Actually, when did you start?
Mhm.
When did you decide to start DJing? Then we had all this stuff going on then in Seattle, uh, and then music, as you said, and the club scene was big, and the car scene was
Mhm.
big, and clothes was big, and hustling was big, and a lot of things going
Yeah.
on Pike Street and every street in Seattle. So when did you start? When did you decide to start DJing?
Well, I officially started learning how to DJ probably around 1979, and I went to Bellevue Community College and took a class there and went on their radio station KBCS, which is still there now. But as far as DJing on the turntables and into the public, I probably learned that around 1978, and then I just took that and did it on KFOX in 1980. Because back then, no one ever heard anyone mixing on the air, and I would do these mixes on the air, and people go, "Wow, how did you do that?" But I learned all that because of my influence from New York radio. But yeah, I would say DJing officially started probably in 1978, and my professional radio career started in 1980, and I still do it. So I've been doing it for a long time. But
You
you
are.
know, because in my younger years, man, I honestly didn't know what I was going to do with my life. If it wasn't for DJing, hip hop, man, who I have no clue where I'd be, man. I'd probably be locked up somewhere like Eric Ta, man. And I'm really thankful that I found something in my life. But I feel sad my mom didn't get to live to see that because she died when I was 18. But I was able to make a living. And I was probably one of the first ones to get out of the streets and do something positive in my life out of everyone in my circle. And fortunately we're still friends. I know some people probably get that jealous feeling, but I had to do what I had to do to survive. And I want to change my life around to make my mom proud.
Well, you did good, brother. You should be proud, and I know your mom would be proud. So tell us, how did you first meet Sir Mix-a-Lot, and when did you guys start collaborating together?
Believe it or not, we actually went to the same high school, Roosevelt High School. I was 2 years older than him, so I don't remember him, but he remembers me really well. But how we officially met is he called me up on the request lines one night when I was doing my radio show, and that was like in 1983. He introduced himself to me as Anthony Ray, Seattle's computerized DJ. That's what he went by back then. And I didn't really know what he meant by it when he said all that. And back in those days, when you hear of a rap group or hip hop, you just automatically think New York, like Seattle, no way, because the only rap group back then in Seattle was the Emerald Street Boys. Uh, but he DJ'd every weekend at the Boys Club in the Central District. So one night, Ed Locke, the founder of Nasty Mix Records, and we went to watch him perform and DJ at the Boys Club. And you got to remember, it was in the Central District. Ed Locke's Chinese, I'm Filipino, so we were the only Chinese and Filipino in the crowd. It was like, oh man, I hope there's no problems here tonight. But everyone was cool with us, and that's how we first met. One thing led to another. I told him I like to play his song on my show off a cassette tape to see what people would think. And we got more requests than a Michael Jackson or Madonna song. And then the discussion of starting a record label came up. I came up with the name Nasty Mix, which is me and Mix-a-Lot's name. Ed Locke and his partner came up with the money, and we just put all our brains together and learned from scratch. And next thing you know, in maybe about 87, we went gold and platinum, meaning we sold over a million records, which is coming out of Seattle. It's like kind of a remarkable
That was
thing
you guys
happened.
put Seattle on the map. You
Yeah,
guys
we
definitely
did.
pioneers, man. And triple
Hmm.
OGs, man, of the music industry as far as hip hop in Seattle goes. So, what other artists did you work with besides Sir Mix-a-Lot?
Well, when Nasty Mix closed, everyone said, "Wow, well, let's get Nasty Ness to help promote our artists." And I was surprised. My phone was ringing off the hook. I really didn't know what I was going to do after Nasty Mix shut down. Next thing I knew it, I was promoting records for Rakim, The Conscious Daughters, Wu Tang, Big Pun, Dr. Dre, Tupac, you name it. All these, a lot of artists, they hired me to promote them to radio. And if you can see some of my plaques in the background, I got a lot of plaques, uh, to show. It's kind of like my resume. I've broken a lot of records. I've worked with the Fuji, Cypress Hill, uh, De La Soul, man, a whole list of groups, and I still do the same thing with a lot of independent, unsigned artists now, and hoping I can still do the magic and have them go gold and platinum.
Yeah, yeah, you're still doing your thing for sure. So, tell us a little bit more about what about your work with Easy E? How did that all go down?
Well, I had a close friend who was part of the world class wrecking crew and NWA. His name is Arabian Prince, and his dad and I were good friends, and that's how I got hooked up with Arabian Prince. And I remember Arabian Prince said to me, he goes, "Hey Ness, I got this group called NWA." He told me what it stood for, the name stood for, and he said it's something you've never heard before. It's going to change history. And then I listened to the record. I was a dope man, 8 Ball, F the Police. And I was like, "Damn, man, you guys are really hardcore and angry." I said, "Really? Did this really happen?" Like, because in Seattle, you never hear of, like Rodney King situations in Seattle. You don't see any of that stuff. But in LA, it was going on for a long time, and they were talking about it in their music 30 years ago. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I'll play it, but I got to do a radio version. So I took some of the songs on the reel to reel. I edited, took out the bad words, played it on my show. And next thing I know, they became the most requested artist on my radio show. And when they finally came to Seattle to perform, it sold out. And the rest is history, we ended up touring with, when I say we, I mean Sir Mix-a-Lot. We toured with NWA, and they invited me to be on Eazy-E's single called Radio. If you listen to the song called Radio, you'll hear me at the very end of the song with Dr. Dre. And yeah, so that was my relationship with that group. And man, Eazy-E was one of the nicest, coolest guys you'd ever meet, man. I was really shocked when he passed away from AIDS, but that was a wake up call.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you're big in the music industry, but a lot of people don't know too. You also have some film experience. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I'm not a big famous actor yet, but let's see. My biggest accomplishment for me, because Bruce Lee has always been my role model, and and he also grew up a lot in Seattle, and so did I. His school's in Seattle. I was a part of his school, and he did movies. So I did one kung fu movie, and if you Google it, it's on 20th Century Fox called Kung Pao Enter the Fist. I'm in that movie. What else? I was also in House Party 4. Now, all the house parties that you probably know about is with Kid and Play. Number 4 was the first one without Kid and Play, but I'm in that one, and I think I have the funniest part in that movie. And I did some few TV shows. I was like on ER, other small stuff. But right now I'm still auditioning, waiting for that big break, man,
Yeah.
to make it big. No, I really am. I figure.
Hey, I think you will do it. I believe you will do it because, hey, brother, there's nothing stopping you, man. You're involved. You're so creative. You're so
Oh man,
talented.
I hope so, man. I really pray it happens.
Yeah,
So.
right on, brother.
Mhm.
So what made you decide to, I know Seattle was a big part of your life and everything. And so then what made you decide to move to Southern California?
Well, that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made in my life, because I was offered a job to be the rap editor for Hits magazine in LA. Hits magazine is kind of comparable to Billboard magazine, and the money they were offering me and to move me and house me and everything was just too good to say no. And I just felt I just did all I could in Seattle. Plus, it was my way of trying to break into Hollywood movies and stuff, and that was been one of my dreams, So that's what made me decide to make that move. I tell you, I'll never forget it when I was on the airplane. When the airplane took off, oh boy, have you ever seen a grown man cry like a baby? That was me. I was crying so hard. I looked down, saw the space needle. I was like, bye. It was so
Yeah.
sad. I was so sad. But you know what? You got to take chances in life. You got to take risks. You
Yeah.
got to
I know
follow your dreams.
Seattle will always be in your heart, no matter where you're
Always.
at.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're a big part of
you
the
can
city.
always,
You're a legend there.
yeah, I can always move back, but I doubt the way it is now. I would never dream Seattle would be the way it is now, man. I mean,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
changed a
it's
lot.
so,
Every time I go back, it changes more. In some way, it's sad. I
oh,
mean, I know they call it progress, but it's kind of sad because I grew up in and around the High Point projects, and all the
oh
projects
yeah, that's
down. And
different too.
Yesler Terrace ain't there no more, or
No,
any of
that's where I
those
grew up.
places, and that's where a lot of my friends lived at, in the
Yeah.
Park Lake Homes and White Center and Roxbury projects, and all the different projects. That's where a lot of people I knew, poor people but good people that grew up.
Well,
A lot of people associate those places with drugs and gangs, but there was a lot of good people and a lot of good things that happened there too.
well,
That came out.
because you know how I knew about High Point was because Kelly. Kelly, she grew up
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I went to school with
Yeah.
Kelly. That's your cousin, right?
Well, yeah. See,
Yeah,
her brother Nick was my mentor, and he was like 10 years older than me, but he was part of the Ungoys. And
yeah,
that's how I got to know the Ungoys. It was hanging out with Nick. But yeah, that's how I knew about High Point. I would go up there, and yeah, it's so different. The Central District's different now. Yeah, it's different, man. I
I
just
tell people I can
miss.
afford to live in the hood anymore, man. It's like half a
Yeah,
million dollar condos now. Yeah.
gosh, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
crazy, crazy, bro. But okay, so tell us, what are some of your current projects and maybe some things you have lined up for the future?
Well, I want to say real quick that I remember your dad really well. I used to go when he cut hair, right?
Right.
And you know who he reminded me when I met him. He reminded me of the actor Tony Curtis, good looking Italian guy, and he just had this thing about himself, like, wow, man, that's Joe's dad. He's really cool. I just remember your dad really well, man.
Yeah,
And
he was a
I just
legend too. Rest in peace. You know, he passed away a few years ago, but yeah,
uh,
he was on top of the world, just like you are on the top of the world of hip hop for hairstyling. He was the best, man.
and then with your brother Joe, man, I used to be I felt ashamed, man, because I used to have a crush on his girlfriend Darlene.
Yeah, I
I was
remember
like,
Darlene. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, man, Joe got himself a fine Filipino girl. Woo!
Yeah.
But yeah, good old
Well,
Joe. But
thank you, brother, for thinking of my father and my brother like that. You know, it means a lot
oh,
to
I
me.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember
they're
really
deeply
well.
missed. A lot of people love them, you
Hmm.
know. So
Yep.
I appreciate that. So
So what
as
I'm
I was
working
saying, what are some of your current projects and what are your future projects?
well right now, I'm working with a group called the High Children, JJ Hudson, and DJ Third Degree. All three groups recently went number one on the college radio rap chart. They went number one, so I think I picked the winner. And I work with other artists too, but this is my personal thing that I'm working with are those three groups. Matter of fact, I plan to be in Seattle soon to film the new video for JJ Hudson. She started out as a model and found out that she can play piano and she can rap and sing, and she just everyone loves her, man. She just got that look, and she's really dope to work with. But yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And then I've got my radio show. I'm still on the air. If you tune in on Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, go to RainierAvenueRadio.world. RainierAvenueRadio.world. The name of my show is called K Fox Night Beat, and it's based on my original show I used to do back in the days on K Fox Fresh Tracks. I play all the stuff I played back then that are popular now, and it's kind of like reliving hearing me back in the old days again. And I've got my DJ Grand Mixer GMS as my partner on there, so it's kind of nostalgic when you listen in. You go, "Wow, feel like I'm back in 1981, 82 again."
Yeah, right on, brother. Well, as you know, I just started DJing myself. I know I have nowhere
Yeah,
near the experience of you, but I'm having fun with it. You know, doing my
isn't it?
research on the artists and finding out a lot of things I didn't know about different artists, collaborating with other artists, and so I'm here on Kahu Radio, www.kahuradio.com on Wednesday
Mhm.
mornings here in Hawaii, and that's 11 to 3 Pacific Standard Time. So there you have it, viewers and listeners. You have DJ Nasty Ness's show, Night Beats, and you have DJ Gabe, the Amateur Hour,
That's
only
right.
show on Kyle Radio.
Hey, how'd you get into radio? By the way, what made you get into
You
that?
know, it just it's funny you ask. We are in a pocket, a puka they call it, you know, here in Hawaii, where we don't get any reception. Well, there's one station, depending on where you're at, you know, you move like 1 foot. Oh, I lost it, bro. Move back the other way. You know, it's really like that. So we have like one radio station that you can get sometimes. And so it's a local radio station out of Ocean View, Hawaii. Kau Radio is the district we live in. So it's on the southern tip of Hawaii, the farthest part you can go in the United States. So yeah, I'm having fun with it. I'm one of about 20 DJs we got going. So we all have different, you know, genres. Mine is
Uh,
oldies, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And of
oh,
course, you know,
nice.
that goes into the, you know, the a little bit of the old school hip hop. And that's what I did last week was focus on that. And we had some hip hop um, artists as well as graffiti artists as well as rappers. And now I'm glad now we have one of the pioneer DJs of hip hop,
Uh,
Esther Rodriguez. with you.
Ah, see, that's the thing. You know my full name. Not many people know my full name, man. But so
Yeah.
don't use it too much.
Okay.
Hey,
All right,
I'm
Ness.
gonna
All right,
I'm
brother.
gonna tell you because I think you're a few years older than me, maybe, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a film out right now. I know you're gonna love. It's called Summer of Soul. Have you watched it yet?
No, I
Summer
haven't. I
of
have to check it
Soul.
out.
Have you heard of it?
I have not. You know, we're
Oh,
not only we get hardly any radio, we don't get no TV, bro. We're off grid. We're like wine hillbillies, you know.
yeah, but you got okay. It's on Hulu. You can watch it on Hulu.
Okay,
HULU.
we can get
Watch it. It's
internet.
called Summer of Soul. It's a true concert that happened in 1969. No footage has been released till now. You'll love it. It has Sly and the Family Stone, Gladys Knight, Stevie Wonder,
Oh,
David
nice.
Ruffin. You're gonna love it.
Yeah,
Summer of Soul.
I'll have to check
Questlove
it out. Thank you for
produced
that
it.
tip. Yeah,
Watch it. Yeah, you're gonna love it. I guarantee
yeah,
you, it's gonna
yeah. Well,
brighten
you know,
up
I
your
love
day.
music. You know, I love film. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
No, man, I just want to say, thank you so much. You can hit me on my Instagram at Nasty Ness 818, Facebook at Nasty Ness, Twitter at Nasty Ness 1, and my website, rapattacklives.com. And man, much love, man. I really appreciate you letting me speak to you all. And man, I miss Hawaii. Like I said, that's my father's side of the family. When I come
Yeah.
up there, man, we're gonna go there and do some hula stuff. All right.
All right, brother. Well, it's been great talk story with you here. I really appreciate you coming on the show once again and sharing your knowledge and your all your projects and everything, man. And you know, sharing the memories, man. God bless you, brother. You take care of yourself. If you're ever over
You
here,
too.
yeah, look me up. Aloha, brother.
Okay. Aloha.
All right.
Peace.